I'm about to tell you about the 4 recent mystery reads that I just finished. Stay tuned.
Pictures and patterns put into words that stream across the page, capturing life as soft spoken.
Alright guys, Jane here, and I'm so excited to talk about the 4 mysteries I recently read. Mystery is probably my second favorite genre. I love romance, but I really strongly like mystery too. And I've been reading a lot more in the mystery genre than the romance genre recently. It's just been what's calling to me. So the last 4 books I read were mysteries. One is a romantic suspense, but we're going to throw that in this category anyway, because the mystery, I think, kind of overtook the romance in the book, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But anyway, so 4 mysteries I recently read. We are not doing any spoilers in this video. Everything we talk about is spoiler-free. However, just know that in the near future, I do plan to do spoilery videos, so if you feel like you want more information, keep a lookout for the spoiler videos I do on probably all of these books, but at least some of them. So the first book we're going to talk about is The Paris Apartment. In The Paris Apartment, we have Jess. She has recently talked to her brother and asked if she could come stay with him for a while because she is having some life issues. She's having some life issues, and she has left her job under not so great circumstances and, doesn't have a way to pay her bills. She's just kind of stuck. And her brother says, yeah, you can come stay with me. That's fine. So she shows up at her brother's house, and he lives in this apartment, and there's a lot of other people that also live in this apartment complex. So not in his direct apartment, but in other apartments throughout. And I will tell you, it was hard for me to get a visual in my head of what this looked like, especially based on some of the reveals we get. It was really hard for me to figure out my setting, to really visualize it. But anyway, she comes, she's trying to figure out what happened to her brother. She meets the different neighbors. All of them have some secrets, are suspicious. We get, I think, all of their points of view, almost all of their points of view. So we get a lot of their points of view as well in the story as we are searching with her for her brother. So I did listen to this on audio, and it was an ensemble cast. Each story had a different narrator, and I think that was really good because there are a lot of characters. And of all the things that I struggled with in this book, I think too many characters that I wasn't connecting with and wasn't interested in definitely hurt my ability to love this book at the level that I wanted to. It was fine. It wasn't a bad book. It just wasn't what I was necessarily hoping for, and there were an awful lot of characters, and the only one I really liked and felt like I could root for was Jess. So this book was a 3 out of 5. Like I said, there were, for me, too many points of view, too much going on. I felt like the beginning was very slow. It took us forever to find things out, get the clues. The mystery itself was so-so. The resolution I didn't really like. It wasn't a bad resolution. It worked, but it didn't work for me. So at the end of the day, this book, I think it could really work for other people. I had a friend recommend it to me, actually, and she really loved it. And I understood why she loved it. I understood, there's some really exciting twists and turns and fun things. But at the end of the day, for me, there was too many characters. It was too slow in the front. And then in the back, I wasn't necessarily sold on the reveals. The next book I read was Peril at End House by Agatha Christie. And this is the next in line that I needed to read for Poirot. So I am trying to read all the Poirot books, and then my goal is to go and read the Marple books and to try to read in my lifetime. Every book that Agatha Christie wrote, yes, including the romances. But this is where I'm at right now, Peril at End House. So our setup is that Poirot and Hastings are on vacation together, and I love the books that include Hastings. There are, my understanding is, a lot of later books that Hastings isn't a part of, and I think that's a real shame because Hastings and Poirot, their dynamic is just awesome, and in this book, that was so much the case. I loved Poirot and Hastings together in this book. Back to what's going on. So Poirot and Hastings are traveling, and in their travels they meet a woman who tells them, her name is Nick, and she tells them that she has had a lot of accidents recently and that she has almost died multiple times this last week. And she describes the situation to Poirot, and after a couple things happen that appear to Poirot also to be near misses, Poirot decides this lady is in some serious trouble, somebody is trying to kill her, and we need to try to prevent the murder and find out who is trying to kill this poor young woman. I buddy read this one with my friend CJ, and I will tell you, I liked it a lot more than he did. He saw the twist coming. For me, though, I didn't see the things happening in this book the way it did, and I loved it. I gave it a 4-star. This is now my second favorite Christie of the ones that I'm reading for Poirot, so my second favorite Poirot. My favorite Christie of all time so far is And Then There Were None. But my favorite Poirot up to this point has been The Murder of Roger Ackroyd. I didn't love this more than that, but it was pretty close. So this is now my second favorite Poirot so far in the series as I've read it. I loved the banter with Poirot and Hastings. I loved kind of what was happening. The mystery itself was really good. The reveals were really good. I felt like we were given all the information to solve it ourselves if we wanted to or were able to. I was not able to. I didn't catch stuff. But it really just, it was lovely. I thought this was well done. Christie can be such a hit or such a miss for me. Recently, I think some of the last ones that I read that weren't hits, I didn't like Murder on the Blue Train, and I didn't care for The Big Four. So I was so excited to have this one that just hit all the things that I love when Christie does. Now, if you read a ton of Christies and a ton of older classic mysteries, this may not work as well for you. That was the case with my friend CJ. He was like, I've seen this done before, and I wasn't real impressed. But I was. I loved it. The next book that I read was The Golden Spoon, and this is another audio, and this was another ensemble cast. And the premise is that these 6 people are going on a Great British Baking Show type thing, contest, to see who is the greatest baker and gets the golden spoon. The one who wins gets to make a recipe book. The hosts of the show are a lady named Betsy, who has been running the show for years and years and years and years. And then I think the co-host name is Archie. Don't quote me. It could be something else, but I think it's Archie. And Archie is new to the show. This is his first year co-hosting with Betsy, and I think, well, we know the producers have kind of hoped that he will bring more life into the show. You know, Betsy is super nice, super friendly to the contestants, and they wanted a little, the producers and network want a little more drama. So he is brought in to create drama. I don't want to spoil anything, so I will just say that there's kind of 3 different mysteries happening within this book. And I thoroughly enjoyed it, although I had some issues. So I ended up giving it a 4-star. I had such a good time that I was willing to kind of overlook certain things, but I've definitely heard some negative reviews about this book, and I can totally understand why. So, a couple things, again, trying, like, this isn't spoilery, but, you know, it I would say that it's a very, very slow start. We're kind of given the first chapter is, hey, this thing happened that this murder happened. First, it's not a secret, it's the prologue. But then it takes us a really long time to get to the murder actually happening in the book, in my opinion. So I felt like it took a really long time to get to what we thought was the actual mystery. Now there are 2 other mysteries going on, so I was invested in those, and like I knew the other one was coming and it was fine. I love the Great British Baking Show. I loved all the baking stuff. I really liked how well developed the contestants were. I will say that my favorite contestant went home a little bit early, so I was really bummed that they were one of the first to go. And so we didn't get as much screen time with the one that starting out was my absolute favorite. But so all of those things were very good and I enjoyed. The resolutions of the mysteries, except for one, didn't really work for me. And the justice at the end, I wasn't sure if that really worked for me either. You know, one of the things about mystery books is we want justice. And justice prevails, but maybe not in a way that worked personally for me. So there were some ups and downs, but overall I had a good enough time that I gave it a 4-star. And if you love the Great British Baking Show and, you know, don't mind if the mystery is kind of less great, if there's great characters and a lot of fun baking stuff, you might really enjoy that, because I did. The last book I read, and I just finished this yesterday, is Grave Secrets by Susan G. Heino. So I do want to tell you, I met this author at an author event, and I got to listen to her read the first chapter of this book, and I was absolutely hooked. I was so excited to get in and read this book. So the setup is we have Carly, who is trying to purchase the church that was her father's church. Her father was a pastor, preacher. I'm not sure the difference. When I was growing up, my church didn't have those things. So I'm not sure if he's a pastor or preacher, but he is in leadership in this church, and he has passed away years ago now. But she, as an adult, is coming back and wanting to buy the church that she grew up in and that her father ran. This church is kind of dilapidated. It needs a lot of repairs, and one of the things that the bank wanted her to do was to have it inspected to make sure that the foundation and things were solid, and how much work are we talking? How expensive is it going to be for this purchase and renovation? So all this is happening, and she goes to see what the verdict is, how much damage has been done to the foundation, and it turns out a body is found in the foundation. So this body is quickly suspected to be her ex-boyfriend, Ricky. And so, of course, then the investigation ensues. There is the guy in the case who's investigating it. His name is TJ. And TJ, of course, is concerned about Carly and possibly her father's involvement in this murder. So I will tell you, this is a love-inspired cold case, so this does have like a romantic subplot, and I was really surprised. I didn't enjoy the romance part of this book very well, but I did have a good time with the mystery. I ended up rating this a 3 out of 5, which really made me sad because I love the author. She was such a nice lady to meet, and I wanted to love this book so bad. My biggest issue with this book I think, is number one, it's a little outside of what I normally read. I don't read a lot of inspirational romance. If you followed my channel for a while, you know I'm a former churchgoer, not a current one. So maybe some of the novelty of this was lost on me because I'm not a religious person. Like, I'm not offended by religion, and I've read other inspirational books, but it's also possible that part of the reason I didn't jive as much is because that's a huge component in this book. And also, I don't read a ton of romances that are mysteries. So, and that's kind of what I assume this book was trying to do. And it felt more like a mystery that was a romance, which was fine with me because I like mysteries that are romance. Carly, who is the girl in the story, I did not like her. And there is kind of a moment in the book where she has like a change of heart or an inspiration to change a little bit. And so I thought maybe that's what the author was trying to do, was building her up as a little bit unlikable. But even at that changing moment, she just didn't work for me. I did like TJ, who was the guy, but Carly, just throughout the whole book, I never really liked. I was highly invested in the mystery, though. I wanted to know who this body is. Did we get a positive ID? Why are they there? Was it murder? Was it an accident? What happened? And find out who done it. Although I had it narrowed down to 2 people pretty early on, and so at the end it was one of the 2 people, though not the one I most suspected. So the author did keep me guessing mystery-wise, and like I said, I was super invested in the mystery. I was fine with how the mystery turned out. There were a couple things that I didn't love about it, but you know, it was fine. It was it was not a bad mystery by any means. It felt fair. It felt like we had the clues given to us. I was fine with how things turned out. So mystery-wise, it was good. Didn't think it was great for me as a romance, largely because I couldn't connect with Carly, who was the girl. So if you think that this might be something for you, definitely check it out. I would never steer anybody away from it because, like I said, I think it was good. It just wasn't for me. So those are my recent mystery reads. What have you been reading mystery-wise? Are there any that have bake-off vibes? Because I think I love those. So if you have any books that have kind of Golden Spoon vibes, but maybe aren't so that have a better mystery, drop those in the comments below. Although again, I really enjoyed the Golden Spoon. It could have been a 5. It could have been a 5, but it wasn't a 5. And I'd love to have one that is closer to a 5. Also, tell me, if you read the Poirot books, which Poirot book was your favorite? All right, guys, this is Jane. I'll see you next time. Bye.